keyboard on this computer.
Bing bong. Oh,
Ooh, the dulcet tones of the woman behind the curtain.
yeah, there we go.
This meeting is being live streamed. Got it.
What up, YouTube?
What up, YouTubers? Welcome to the early bits, the special stuff. I think we could take Jake Paul in a fight.
This is this is those little bits left over in the skillet, you know. This is the little bit of roux that's left over. It's like, oh yeah.
Some of those are the best, man. Some of those are the tasty parts.
That's what it is.
It adds the flavor. It adds the real flavor that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Which is this little encapsulated bits that we're sharing with you right now as I sip my tea and he sips his beer.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh, a little bit of chai. A little bit of chai for you.
See, I take you as an Earl Grey man. I don't know. Maybe I'm just off.
I'm honestly more of a green tea kind of guy because I try to avoid caffeine. Yeah,
that makes sense.
So
cool.
And there was that sweet extra content for all of you. What kind of tea?
Are we live yet? I don't see it.
We appear to be live.
I don't know. I was going to mention, did you see my book here?
I can't make it out. I'm getting a glare.
Oh. Yes, sir.
Notes of a Native Son by James Baldwin. Excellent. Have you begun it?
Actually, this is the next one. I've read those.
Okay.
These are 5 of his
man's
books.
Just an amazing writer.
My God.
His flow is excellent. It would have been great to have him engaged in turning the message theatrical, turning the message into an art form. I think he kind of did it himself with some of his debates that he had with people, the way he spoke, his cadence, his rhythm.
Yep. And there we are, man. We are live.
But weird. Love me some Baldwin. Absolutely. Just that. A year or two ago, there was a documentary that came out about him, and so they were interviewing the guy who did the documentary, but then also sharing, snippets from different interviews they'd had with Baldwin himself on NPR, but also shows. And I just could have sat there and listened to him all day long. He just makes too damn much sense. But his tone, there's just something about a way some people, it's not just the words that they're saying, it's how they're saying the words that really, really pull you in. And he's just, there's just something incredible about listening to him speak. So, hey folks, as you can tell, it's just a meandering Wednesday evening here on the Evan and Aaron show. This is my buddy Evan. I'm Aaron. Happy to have you join us. As you may have seen from the promo, we don't really have an agenda. Not that we ever have an agenda, but there are things that we have in mind, some topics and stuff. So today we are just kind of winging it. One thing I do want to get off my chest right now, and that's on my chest, and that is the U.S. men's national team is absolutely in a must-win, has to win, gotta win situation tonight down in Honduras, which is no easy feat. They've kind of, 1 point at home against El Salvador wasn't really that big of a deal. Not getting all 3 points. Yeah. Really? I'm sorry. People need to acknowledge. And if you listen to any of the old heads that played, it's never been easy to qualify in this group. And it only gets more difficult as all these players from every country play more. And El Salvador is well coached. They had a good plan. I'm still not sold on Berhalter, but I'm also not totally against Berhalter yet. And for everybody who's clamoring for Jurgen Klinsmann, and I know I've kind of thrown that out there a little bit, but everybody clamoring for him. Remember, he got fired multiple times in Germany, and The reason why he was in the U.S. was because he couldn't get a job at a real club. So,
Yeah, no, that's
I'm
true.
not so sure, clamoring for Jurgen is the way to go. I don't have the answer. If I did, I'd be the national team coach. What I can say is we've got too much talent to not get out of this group.
Yeah, it's way too early to throw the towel in on these guys, man. And I'm with you. Obviously, yes, we need to perform tonight. We need to show the world what we can do. I think we need to come together as a team. We need to play well tonight. I think for ourselves, yes, we need to win. But boy, I'd like to see a 3-1. I'd love to see 3-1, 4-1, maybe. I don't know if we really play out of our minds.
I just don't think it's realistic to have that kind of result on the road in this group. This is the hex, man. I mean, this is a slog, and I don't care who you are. Brazil would not waltz through this. They would find some difficult games in this. These teams know how to play. They're at this level for a reason. Every one of these national teams has guys that are playing for major clubs around the world. We do not have a monopoly on this region.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
We've got good players, but they're young and haven't played much together. We've got a coach who's still a bit unproven at this level. So, there's a lot of bullet points to really be trying to fight through. Now, I expect us to qualify. We damn well better. There's just too much talent, but we've not gotten off to a great start. So
no, and it's scary, man. I'm like, I'm not sure I can take 2 World Cups in a row where, I don't even want to say it. I'm not even going to think it. I'm just going to, I'm going to hope that we do well tonight.
The only saving grace is that I have no intention of going to Qatar. I don't think anybody's going to pay attention to a World Cup in Qatar. It's really unfortunate that it's still going forward.
Yeah.
And that's its own set of sad conversations, just because of what was allowed to happen and the greed of UEFA or I'm sorry, FIFA. It's and more people are going to die before this World Cup happens. We've still got a year to go, year and a few months to go before this happens, and more people will die. And it's crazy to say that. We're not talking about more people will die trying to get out of Afghanistan. More people will die that refuse to get vaccinated. We're talking about more people are going to die because they decided to make a living helping secure and build stadiums for what is supposedly one of the largest sporting events in the world. And you really shouldn't have that. You shouldn't have a death toll along with a major sporting event. I mean,
that doesn't, that's not good press. At any rate. Hey, an old friend of the pod just came back on. Taylor, what is up, girl? How you doing? What up? Good to have you with us tonight.
Wow, I haven't had Taylor around for a minute.
I know, man. I'm like,
Taylor, didn't you go to Germany, or are you going to Germany? Something about going to Germany to open a new Top Golf, which is, I believe, where they started, isn't it?
You know what? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if they started it in Germany or not, but
I believe they did.
We're glad to have you with us.
Yeah.
And since we're just spitballing, man, one of the things that I want to talk about tonight is I wanted to really get real. Oh, here we go. We are living. I leave for Germany in 6 weeks. Started in the UK. Oh, it started in the UK.
Okay.
Okay. Well, glad to have you with us tonight, Taylor. I just wanted to say this, man. This is to all those folks out there who, and this is just how I'm feeling, and I'm just going to be transparent, Aaron, because if we were sitting in the bar, that's what I would do. I am, dude, I'm struggling, man. Like mentally, and emotionally. You do all the things right when it comes to COVID, or you think you do. You get your vaccination, you wear your mask, you do all the things that you're supposed to do. And we're still in the thick of this. Now I think that obviously I set myself up for failure a little bit because I bought into the, like, oh my God, we're getting over this and this is going to be good. I put way too much faith in human beings. I just I just did. We are not all the same. And I'm struggling, bro. I really am, because I'm like, we should be able to do this every freaking week from the watering hole. I mean, there's no reason why we can't do this from the watering hole every week. And I've got to believe that there are people out there, that are like us, that are sitting there being like, son of a bitch, we literally could have, it could have been a lot less, it could have been a lot better than what it is now. We would never get rid of COVID. We're not getting rid of COVID. I mean, it'll be here, but it could have been a lot better.
Mhm.
And we are watching now people making, and there's no other excuse. There's no other excuse. You know, we're watching people now literally sacrificing people in order to gain politically. I mean, there is no other, there's no other reason. I refuse to call it ignorance anymore. I'm to a point to where I'm like, no, it's not ignorance. Like, this thing has been, I mean, this thing has been here. We have been through this and we're going through it again. By now that this is for real. I mean, this is real. People aren't just dying in hospital beds hooked up to hooked up to ventilators just because they have the flu. It pisses me off, and I'm really sad, and I'm pissed. And here's the thing. I think that if we were all just really honest with ourselves, and I love what Io and Taylor said. I didn't put too much faith in human beings, put too much faith in Americans. Taylor says, I don't know about that. If you've ever been a woman and tried dating, it's humanity.
One thing I do want to say there, and while Americans do bear a good amount of responsibility for the stupidity being spread around the world, this same shit's going on in England. It's going on in France. It's going on in Germany. There's hardcore far-right movements that are really pushing this misinformation. It's going on in Asia right now. You see what's happened in Myanmar. You see what's happened in Hong Kong recently. You see what's happened in the Philippines. It's all the same shit. I watched a documentary called The Social Dilemma. And it was basically about how, some of these, fantastic inventions, were created with, really, really positive intentions, a way to bring people together. And much like any medium, have been, figured out how to be sort of distilled down, to, their most basic aspects in order to fuck with people. But that doesn't, that doesn't absolve people of their responsibility. I totally understand that the YouTube algorithm is going to keep showing a guy who, shows a certain amount of response to, extremist type of rhetoric, and they're going to give him more and more of those videos. But that does not absolve that person of their responsibility to, look into those types of things. And maybe that's too much to ask of those types of people, but that's always been the case. I don't see this as any different than, like what the guys in Mad Men were doing. How do I make a car speak to somebody? How do I find out enough about somebody to make them choose a particular brand of coffee over another? To, a woman to feel such a way about herself that she needs this particular brand of pantyhose in the 1960s. It's all the same shit. There's just more data available. the computing exists at a new level. And it's always going to take in a certain element of the population. And, maybe it's time for a reset.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. Speaking of reset and speaking of, women in the 1960s, what the hell is going on in Texas? What, dude, like, I mean, and this is an excuse that people use all the time. If they're like, well, if you don't like it, then get out. I would, if I was a woman, I would seriously consider taking people up on that offer, because Texas has lost its damn mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even know what else there is to say about this place. I have no idea.
Well,
if last thing I'll say is this: if I was a woman, I mean, I don't know how I'd feel. I don't know how I'd feel. It'd be like, damn it. I mean, it just seems like for every, and this is the problem with America. For every one step forward that women have made in America, it is not just 2 or 3 steps backwards. It's like 2 or 3 long jumps backwards, man. And this is horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, this is horrible. I don't know what else to call it.
That combined with the ruling on where indigenous immigrants, I believe, I can't remember what the phrase was. I'm sure that's wrong, but basically, kids that are left here, where what types of homes they can be allowed to stay in. So it's definitely kind of dark ages kind of shit. I would not be surprised if Louisiana, Oklahoma, and New Mexico are all trying to figure out, at least transport opportunities, if not outright relocation opportunities for any women, which, it sounds extreme, but the law is extreme.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Biden stepping up a little bit more, saying that, we'll give federal protections to this because we don't think it's constitutional.
But how can you when the Supreme Court isn't doing shit? I mean, they are the branch of government that is supposed to determine whether things like this is constitutional or not.
Yeah, I've watched and read multiple things from right-wing lawyers and politicians, and they basically have all said the exact same thing, and that is this is not an argument about the law itself, and that's why the Supreme Court didn't step in. That this is sort of I can't remember what term it was. Taylor might be able to help. I don't know if it was procedural or what, but it had to do with standing, and that this really isn't the challenge to Roe that they think that people are making it out to be, and that once it's properly brought before the court, it'll be struck down.
Okay. Then
now,
why haven't I mean, I guess my question,
because it's a process thing.
Okay. I guess it's true that the wheels of justice do turn rather slow.
Sure. And I think we'd have heard a lot more of a vehement pushback from the minority opinion in this one. Roberts joined the minority yet again. Good on him.
Yeah.
And consequently, I mean, I think Taylor said it's completely procedural. So
okay.
This court has shown itself to be, even the liberals on the court have shown themselves to be fairly conservative in terms of how they want to intercede in things. And I don't like the term shadow court, because it implies that the Supreme Court has an obligation to rule on something every time. And in this situation, I think they're saying what was brought before us did not truly challenge Roe in the way that it's being portrayed in the media. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a test case out there. And once that happens, the ACL is going to throw their full weight behind it, and it's probably going to get struck down. It's not going to stand. In the interim, there may be harm done to people, and there may be abortions that can't be had or need to be had in Oklahoma, New Mexico, or Louisiana. But I think that this will ultimately, I don't see this court, the makeup of this court, overturning Roe. I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
I think that there's going to be a lot more leniency shown to what states are trying to do. This is a clever end around, but I think ultimately the problem you're going to run into is, how are you going to find out about somebody having an abortion and publicly make a claim against that without violating that person's HIPAA rights? How did you obtain that information?
True. You know, man, I think my reaction to this, I think with a lot of people, and once again, this is why we get together, man, because we talk and we, talk this shit out. And thank you, Taylor, for chiming in, because everything you're saying makes sense, according, as well as you, Aaron. I think it's just the audacity of it all. I think that's what's so shocking for me. I mean, once again, am I shocked that the GOP is doing this? No. I think the thing that shocks me is just the audacity. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, who the hell? I mean, $10,000 to turn someone in. I could get $10,000, turn someone in. How? I just don't understand it. But I will piggyback off of what Taylor was talking about with the women's groups, who are forming to support the women in Texas and things. I guess 24 hours after the hotline opened up, it crashed because people were trolling it. I mean, just trolling the hotline, man. They were calling in fake stuff and just dumps. It was awesome. I loved it. I was like,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and that's social activism at work.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think we'll see this overturned, is what I'm saying. And it's unfortunate it has to go like this, but it's, it's kind of like a cop saying, look, I can't do anything until they actually come on your property.
Okay. Okay. No, I'll take that. I just don't understand why. I don't understand why we just don't let them secede from the union and just, say, okay, well, and I think you mentioned this last week, man.
And then be quickly absorbed by Mexican drug lords.
I'm not even sure they would want that.
Now,
I'm just saying,
there's a movie I'd like to see.
There you go. I think that it's interesting that this stuff is going down. I mean, we see this happening in Texas. We see this happening, in Florida with DeSantis. We see this happening, and it's like, it's almost like their ground game is just, I mean, it's maddening to a point. It's like, okay, why are these things allowed to happen? I guess I'd say I don't understand. I mean, yes, okay, this is procedural. I get it, but it just seems like it's one thing after another. I thought after we got rid of that fool from the White House, I fell into the trap. That he would, we wouldn't hear about him as much. We wouldn't hear about this bullshit, and that there'd actually be some type of, end to the dissonance. But it continues. It just continues, man. And it sucks. And that's just where I'm at.
Well, I just don't think, when they were deciding on, how to go about, writing up how laws were going to, be made, I just don't think they could envision this level of rat fuckery. I don't think they could envision that this type of insidious lawmaking would occur. And you know, I it's been a long time since I've read all the Federalist Papers, and a long time, and I haven't read them all. Yeah, but it's been a long time since I've really been knee deep in that kind of stuff. So, you know, maybe they considered certain aspects of it, but you know, there's a lot of checks and balances. But even as we've seen over the last 4 years at the federal level, you know, we just didn't take into account a president would behave this way. And the things that were meant to curtail that behavior were very, I mean, let's face it, Bill Clinton was impeached, but was not found guilty. Donald Trump was impeached twice and not found guilty for the very simple fact that his own party held the majority. It had nothing to do with whether or not they were actually guilty of what was brought against them. They were never going to be fully, penalized for their behaviors because their party was always going to protect them.
Yeah. I wanted to address what's going on in the chat because I agree. I agree with Taylor. And here's why, is because let's look back once again at the summer of 2020. The reason why we hit a tipping point, the reason why all of a sudden we had a platform is because we had enough white allies standing by our side. And I agree with Io in a sense, as far as, this is on, as far as Texas is concerned, this is on white people. I get it. I agree, but I take that agreement with what Taylor said, mostly white men. But we've got to get behind this, guys. We got to get behind it. The voice has to be a combined voice in order to get things done for women in this, just like in order to get things done for minorities in America. It's got to be a combined voice. It can't just be Black people and brown people shouting for, justice and freedom, because every time it's been like, okay, well, here's a little bit of something. Here's a technical solution. Here's the 64 and 65 bills we'll sign into action. Man, we couldn't even get women's rights ratified until recently.
Women could not own a bank account in their own name until 1974 or 75.
It takes a combined effort. It takes a combined effort.
I would say with caveats, I agree with both takes. I think it is on white people because an overwhelming number of white women continued to vote for Donald Trump and continue to vote for these things. Now, if it's because they live in fear of their white husbands, I can understand that. But I think we need to acknowledge that there's a fair amount of college educated white women who believe in the patriarchy and the paternal household. But it's definitely on men because I'm guessing there's a fair amount of men, Hispanic men in Texas, maybe even Black men in Texas, mixed race men in Texas who think women should be kept in their place and abortion is something that they don't get to decide.
Yep.
And that there's a weird Venn diagram of all those things there. But at the end of the day, you're not surprised by who those people are. Yeah. And I don't know why, but I'm no longer shocked when I hear about, white women who support this kind of shit.
I have no idea about that either, man.
It's like seeing, Black guys support the Klan. And there's plenty of Black guys in the 3 percenters, in the Proud Boys, shit like that. There always have been, there were Jews that volunteered to run the camps.
Yeah. I tell you what, and once again, this is sparking just this type of night that we're having. What about this guy that is right behind Gavin Newsom in California? I mean, in less than a week, California could say no to Gavin Newsom, and they would have this guy, this far-right Republican who's a black guy who actually went on record saying that if anybody deserves reparations, it's slave owners. I know. I'm like,
well, and he makes his
what?
point by saying that that was one of the caveats of ending slavery in Britain, which is, while also a fair point, he did it after he said that the United States was one of the first places to end slavery when it was in fact England. And yes, they did so because they came to an agreement. They didn't have millions of slaves in their country the way the United States did, and therefore you couldn't have made that type of agreement. You know, I don't want to get too lost in the weeds on this one.
Yeah, no.
Because look, the reality is, on one particular day, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. The reality is that on a particular day, slave owners owned slaves and they had property value. They had a dollar value.
Right.
In order to get them to say, yeah, I'll give that up, a negotiation had to be made. It's unfortunate. It's sad that they couldn't see that they just needed to give people their humanity and dignity back. But that's not what we were dealing with. It's not what we're dealing with now. We're not dealing with somebody that can be rationalized with. We can't say, you know what? Can't you just see that women deserve to have this? Because they don't believe that. They don't believe that they belong on the same level. They don't believe they deserve to have body autonomy. They literally referred to them as hosts.
Yep.
So
yeah,
we need to quit arguing with ourselves on this.
It's very much like what I tell my students when they start the class. I say, look, there's two threads running through history. It's money and morality, and money wins out just about every single time. Yeah, it wins out every single time. It's hard to point to a historical event to where money doesn't win out.
Well, and that's why you're what you're starting to see slowly with, the green movement is them saying, look, not only is this the right thing to do from a moral stance and the benefit of the planet, but it'll cost you less to use solar arrays than it will for you to continue refining crude oil. You have to show them the wisdom and the value of making the change. You have to say, this is how you're going to make more money in the long run. And if you notice, a lot of the major automobile manufacturers already recognize this. They recognize that it's in their best interest. I mean, most of the European companies have announced they're going to be totally combustion engine free by 2050?
2030? Oh, 50. Sorry, 50. Yeah.
So, they're already seeing the value of making the change. Now, to a certain extent, it seems they have a better grasp of some aspects of, social responsibility as businesses. But, we don't see it, going back to what I was talking about with the social dilemma. That's the issue. That was one of the central issues of the documentary, is that, these things were made with good intent. They created the like button to reach out and connect people. They did not envision that one day a 13-year-old girl would be shamed because a particular photo didn't get as many likes. Mm-hmm. It just didn't cross their mind, in the same way it didn't cross the mind of, our framers, that when people got elected on the local level, the next thing they would choose to do was redraw their district in such a specific and ridiculous way so as to make it look like some crazy,
dragon or snake or something
that doesn't exist, in order to maximize the voters in their area. Yeah. You just couldn't have thought things that far through. And this is the consequence of it. This is where we are. And rather than wringing our hands about it, it behooves us to address it head on and say, okay, this is what's happened. Now it's our responsibility. We have to own this.
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I think the frustration, and we can go ahead and hit halftime, but I think the frustration is that it's like, you're not quite sure what to do. I mean, people tell you, just vote, 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 vote. I mean, on this show, we try and close out every week. Black people vote, black people vote, 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 vote. But the problem is that when you face the reality that in some districts, gerrymandering has taken your vote and has taken a big dump on it, what's left? What's left? Do we start dumping tea? Do we start putting it in the harbor and saying, you know what, no more? We're done with this.
Well,
I don't know.
Isn't that what marching in the streets was supposed to be?
Yeah, you're right. But
what does that do?
Well, I think it can do things. I think it can. It can continue a conversation. It can help a conversation continue. But the issue is that in America, the right people have to be having that conversation too. And I'm with you, man. I just don't think the right people I don't think the right people care to continue the conversation, to be quite honest with you. I don't know.
I think you're right there.
Yeah. And on that, I think it's time, my friend.
Outstanding. Who you got this week?
Oh man. It's hard because my my heart really is with those, women who damn it. It just seems like in America you can't buy a break, man. It just seems you can't buy a break, So my shot goes out to all those, trailblazers, those pioneers that went, before us, the Jane Addams, the Sojourner Truths, the Angela Davises, the Asada Shakurs, the Shirley Chisholms, man. Those women that it just seems like at times America just doesn't care, man. Just doesn't care. And you know what? The one thing is that this show we do. And every person that I listed off, my students know about. They know about every single one of them women. So ladies, we're with you.
Absolutely.
We're men who, hey, there's a march on October 2nd. That's a good way to get involved, get out, let people see. But ladies, we're with you. Okay. So that's who my shot's for tonight, man.
And mine is I saw a post from good friend of the pod. Jojo had a rough day the other day, and I'm pretty sure I can discern what that was about.
Yep.
People not doing the bare minimum that we ask of them to mask, to distance, to not be assholes to their servers, while everybody knows that every business on the planet is short-staffed right now.
Yeah.
And that goes to her, that whole staff out there, and everybody in the service industry. Keep your head up. Try to tip if you can. We'll save the Steve Buscemi Reservoir Dogs conversation for somewhere down the road. In the meantime, everybody needs a little help. Everybody needs a smile. Everybody needs a little bit of a hug and a little bit of a pick me up now and then. So on the macro level, Evan, on the micro level, me, everybody out there, we got your back. Mickey's got your back.
Slanky. Man. I don't know.
No, and I think to kind of continue the theme, what's frustrating is it seems like we all know we're being manipulated.
Right.
We all know the algorithm exists. We all know we don't need to click on that next video, and yet we do. And that's where the personal responsibilities kind of got to come into play. And, the GOP likes to claim the moral high ground and that they're responsible and they're the adults. And yet that's just not been my experience. I'm not saying I don't roll my eyes at certain things I hear from the left, but I just don't think the worst elements of left-wing politics and the worst concepts of left-wing politics are being elevated to the same level. I can't think of the left-wing equivalent of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Madison Cawthorn and Josh Hawley. I can't. I don't hear anything coming from, say, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that just sounds batshit crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is definitely a one-sided argument. Now, and here's the thing, as a historian, well, hell, as an American, we all need to know that gerrymandering has been used by both sides and been used incredibly well. But there is always, in these arguments, there's always one side that does this shit constantly. And that one side is the GOP. I mean, it is, man. It is historically proven that they benefit from this.
What gets me is, and anytime, the main difference I see is anytime somebody on the left does just mouth off some stupid bullshit, there's no shortage of other Democrats to step up and say, yeah, I think that was a bit too far. I think that was a bit out of left field, pun intended. Just really, really crazy shit. Where are prominent right wingers saying, hey, Governor Abbott, if your solution to women being concerned about getting raped and having to carry a child to term because there's no, rape exception for abortion in Texas, is for him to say, well, I'm going to catch all the rapists. Well, why wasn't your first response, why haven't you done it now?
Yeah.
If you've got this amazing plan to do so, what have you been waiting on? Why isn't anybody just calling this out on its face, saying this is some absurd shit? This is some Todd Aiken level stupidity.
Yeah.
And yet it just gets glossed over.
Can we talk real quick about the fundamental reason why abortion is such a topic? I mean, it's based on religion.
It's control.
It's control, but it's like it's been associated with religious beliefs, and that argument just doesn't hold up for me. My past, my background, man. Studied the Bible front, back, sideways, the whole thing. Read it, know it. Not once in the Bible did I ever see any of the red words, because supposedly Jesus is the person you're supposed to be listening to. Not once did I ever hear of any of the red words saying that we're going to leave you a book to be governed by. Jesus said, hey, I'm going to leave you a spirit. I'm going to leave you a spirit that's supposed to guide you and supposed to connect you with other human beings so that you guys don't be assholes. Not once did he say a book. And this book that supposedly millions of people around the world live with and live by was put together by men with agendas. Of course they hated homosexuals, because homosexuals can't provide new acolytes for your religion. So of course you're going to write that out. Nope, that's bad. Women actually being an authority? No, because that's going to take away our power. So no, let's put that in there. I don't understand why we can't logically see it for what it is. And I know that this is not popular, Aaron. And if people jump on our ass, I'm sorry, they can jump on me. That's why for me, the Bible, that's not the end all be all. It can't be, because your Savior basically said that, hey, it's the Spirit that connects us. It's not a book. It never was supposed to be a book. I mean, if anything, religion is fluid. It moves, it ebbs, it flows. It's never static. To me, it was never meant to be static. I don't know.
Once
Maybe
you
I'm,
create dogma, I mean, look at
yeah,
Catholicism, for example. Once you create rules based on it, then you there's not a lot of wiggle room anymore. I mean, let's face it, the book has been accused, or the book has been used to justify war and
yeah,
slavery and murder and rape for centuries.
yep, yep. And we choose to just go ahead and just follow it. And you know me, my spiritual journey, but if I believed that God was up there and God was sitting there and God looked down and saw the shit that we're doing, I think God would just be like, what the hell? What are you doing?
I'd like to think, yeah. I mean, it's hard to know because I can't personify. I can't give personification to God in the first place. I think it's but sorry, philosophy major. I mean,
no, I get you. I get you.
I
get you.
I completely revolt against the notion of a sentient, interactive God in the first place. So
isn't that Rick Sanchez? Isn't Rick Sanchez that being? I guess Rick and Morty. Please tell me you've seen. Come on, dude. Rick Sanchez, man.
I'm sorry.
Damn it.
I'm aware that a show called Rick and Morty exists.
Oh.
And I have watched perhaps 2.5 episodes of it.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry, I won't interrupt you. Go ahead and with your excellent point.
No, it really is just that I personally don't have a lot of use for religion. In as much as some sort of, guiding mantras for my life. I think every book that, each religion is based upon has tremendous things to impart.
Sure.
But, I don't lend any more weight to the New Testament than I do the Bhagavad Gita.
And I agree. Nicole,
there are positives to take from all of them, but the second that it becomes your sole interpretation of the world, you've turned it into dogma, and now you are left defending the words of people written 2,000 years ago based on hand-me-down oral traditions translated through about 6 different languages. I always go back to the beginning of the movie Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels about the fact that Catholicism is based on a mistranslation of the ancient Greek word for young woman. So when it was translated from Aramaic or Hebrew into Greek or whatever, or vice versa, that they mistook it. Instead of young girl, they wrote young virgin. Well, that changes things a whole lot.
Yeah, it does.
The fact that a young woman and a young man had a child together versus a young virgin, a virgin birth. I mean, that all of a sudden you now have to create a divine narrative rather than, hey, this couple gave birth to someone who was just a really important historical figure who went on to be a good prophet. You know, I mean, Muhammad wasn't of divine birth.
Yeah.
Right. Muhammad just goes on to have some good shit to say and some bad shit to say, to be fair.
I think, no. And I wanted to say a few things. Nicole, you're absolutely right. It's not just the Bible. I say that once again, all the time. I'm like, any religious writing, any religious book or anything like that. And Aaron, you said it, that you take it to that point to where it dictates and rules your life and you totally forget about the human spirit. You forget about the fact that people are human beings and that they have a spirit inside of them. When you forget that, you're in trouble. But I think Troy says something. He says, which is why I have a problem with you guys blaming white men. It's GD Christians. white, black, yellow, red, brown, male, and female. These Christians preach to protect the unborn. So I disagree it's white men. That's just ignorant. Now, here's what I would say to that, Troy. I hear where you're coming from, but here's why I disagree with that. I disagree with it. I do believe that it is those people like the Creflo Dollars, the Jesse Duplantis, those guys, the Joyce Myers that are capitalizing on people. And those people are people of different colors and different genders, obviously. But I think the greatest transgression happened at the hands of the majority population that has been in control of this world for the longest. Okay. And once again, I think that if you look at, go back to our Constitution, we the people really didn't mean we the people. It meant white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, rich men. That's what it meant. And those are the guys that used it to their advantage. So I think that, it's one of those deals where we're not blaming you, but I think it's an awareness piece to make you aware of the fact that, okay, white men did this, but me as a white man, I have an obligation now to help fix this. That's at the real heart, and to me, that's at the heart of everything we bicker and argue about in America today. People are always saying, "Oh, well, you're making my son and my daughter, you're making them feel bad about themselves by teaching them critical race theory. Oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that because you're making people feel bad and feel guilty." No, it's not about making people feel bad and feel guilty. It's about making people aware of what happened in the past. And since they are a descendant of what happened in the past, hopefully they can now get a fire lit under their ass to actually say, you know what, look, I get it. I see the advantage I've had. And it's up to me to do something about it. Full circle, once again, that's why 2020 was so significant. That's why it was so significant, because enough white allies finally said, okay, yeah, I see it now. That's what I would say to you, Troy. I mean, once again, brother, you can have your opinion. That's just me spitballing. Aaron, what do you think, man?
I think he's right, and I think the clarification is it's hashtag not all white men kind of thing, right? Like, it's easier to say white men, Christians, all this, but we also don't mean all of them. But it is a majority, and enough of a majority to be able to state it that way, because I don't think Black Christians signed off on white Jesus. I don't even think they were asked. I would like to know when that particular image of Jesus began to get used and was widespread, because the Bible even talks about the man's hair and his feet and his skin. So you can draw a pretty good, you could draw a police sketch of Jesus.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. And it's been done. It's been done.
I'm just
the Smithsonian did it.
So, I totally get what you're saying. And that's why I always go back to the Venn diagram too, because I mean, it's men, it's predominantly white men, it's predominantly white Christian men, but then you have to acknowledge that white Christian women in Texas are contributing to this problem. But
do you know who's not contributing to the problem in Texas?
Hispanic Christian men are contributing
absolutely.
to this. I would imagine certain Black Christian men. There are
absolutely.
definitely conservative. I mean, look, there's a massive issue in the Black community dealing with homosexuality, still struggling to deal with male homosexuality. And Lil Nas X music is trash, but that guy is changing the way people look at things in the world, and he's addressing points straight on. So I'm kind of straying a little bit here, but Troy, I hear your point, and I think we're all largely in agreement if we could kind of illustrate it. Sometimes words don't do the argument justice.
Yeah. But do you know who's not? I mean, who's standing up against this? Standing up against it in Texas? The Church of Satan.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I'm like,
and
how?
ironically,
Yeah.
they tend to. Ironically, they're the ones that have done the best at challenging things like putting the 10 commandments in the lobby of courthouses and stuff. And they're like, well, that's cool, but now you got to put, a
Put a picture
statue of
the statue of Satan with
it's
like this, like,
I believe it's Basaphet.
yeah, yes.
With the fingers up and the horns
Yep.
and all that. Like, look,
Yep.
if you want to do it, then you got to give equal time. And that's what they, that's why I call them the Texas Taliban, because, they would not agree to it. If they said, hey, cool, you can put the 10 commandments up right alongside the 8 facets of, the eightfold path of Buddhism.
Yeah. The 5 pillars of Islam.
Right.
You can do it there too. I mean, hey,
put all those in. And, if you really want to blow their minds, ask them who the first country was to recognize the existence of the United States of America.
Boy, you got me on that one. Wow. France?
No.
England?
It was an Islamic country.
Really?
Yep. Morocco.
Wow.
I believe Morocco. It was either Morocco or Libya was the first to recognize the official right to exist of the United States of America. And I believe Ben Franklin or Thomas Jefferson specifically spoke of there not being any specific religion, and that if they were to choose that Islam would be really one of the first to really be going with, because of what it spoke about specifically about community. So
wow, man, that blew my mind. Dang, I wish I'd have known that yesterday, because today we were talking about how, like, true Islam. There's this once again, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who worked with Mahatma Gandhi. This guy practiced true Islam. It's about peace. It's about coming together and helping and serving people. I'm like, I blew some minds away today, because they were like, oh, we want to talk about, Sunni and Shiite Muslims. It's like, well, wait a minute. Hang on. If you want to do that, then let's talk about Christianity through the eyes of Westboro Baptist. Let's do that. What do you think? I mean, it's amazing. Anyway.
Yes, Morocco was one of the first countries to recognize the newly independent United States, opening its ports to American ships by decree of Sultan Muhammad III in 1777.
Yeah. We've got a really good discussion going on, especially about, religious art and how Jesus is depicted in religion. I think that
I like Troy's point, because I understand where this is going, and it really illustrates maybe the relative power of particular communities, and that it's I would say ironic, but perhaps true, that the Black community in which Troy's girlfriend in high school lived maybe had more local power to do something like that than did the local government in Nigeria to demonstrate a willingness to have a Black Jesus. I don't know the history specifically, so I may be completely speaking out of turn. My point is that I think it speaks to the relative power of the local community, because if you have a certain amount of autonomy, then you could give yourself a Black Jesus or a brown. I mean, you know what? I'd like to think that in Puerto Rico, Jesus has a bit of a finger wave.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
And it's kind of mocha.
And this is the thing. I've got a personal thing to share, and then something to share about what Nicole said. I really think that you're right, Aaron. I think that if Jesus as a historical figure was here and say, we were to say, hey, Jesus, are you offended if you were represented as African? Were you, anyway, are you offended if you're represented as European? Are you offended? I think he'd be like, look, man, y'all, as long as y'all just live by the way I taught, like with peace and loving with each other, I'm cool. But Nicole, here's the thing. She said that Jameson told me a while ago Jesus became white in art. He can't remember the Pope, but he had a painting done and modeled Jesus after his son. Now, that is true. It became incredibly relevant during the Crusades, especially to have a European-looking Jesus. Yeah, because if I'm a French soldier, I want somebody that looks like me if I'm going to go fight, Muslims, because if he looks like the way he really looks, not so sure he's going to be on my side. So,
well, and think about how Islam deals with this situation. It's against the law to have a depiction of Muhammad.
There you go.
Therefore, you avoid the argument altogether of which particular tribe did he look like.
Yeah, because when you boil it down, what does it matter? Why would it matter for Jesus to look a certain way? You're supposed to follow what he said. The reason why it matters the way he looks is for control. To bring it full circle, it's exactly what you said. It's for control.
Well,
it's to control. No, go ahead.
And remember that Malcolm X ultimately had a massive change in his beliefs when, assuming I can trust Spike Lee's movie, I know this for, I've read enough to know that this is true. That when he made his pilgrimage was the first time he'd seen white Muslims praying side by side with people of color from around the world. And it made him realize that if Islam was to be a true religion of peace, then everyone had to be included or no one could be included.
Yep.
And it absolutely changed his views. And it was when he returned and wanted to preach that Elijah Muhammad said, nah, sorry. And also hold this while I go fuck a few more chicks behind this door that nobody's supposed to know about either. So, he had his eyes open to a lot of things in a very short period of time, and it changed his attitude.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree. Man, ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible discussion that we've had tonight. But I've got to do it, Aaron. It's my favorite part of the show, brother. Favorite part of the show. We got to do the Hey Aaron segment. And tonight, for those of you who did not see the extra YouTube, wonderful little bits of roux at the bottom of the pan, I came in blasting some Busta Rhymes. So tonight,
which will
Aaron,
once again keep us from monetizing the video.
No, because it wasn't playing during Facebook.
No, I'm just kidding. Remember the last week's video somehow got taken down by Facebook, and I'm still not sure what that was for. YouTube is the one that busts our balls for monetization, not Facebook. So I don't know. I don't know what we did on Facebook last week.
I'm not sure. But tonight, what we're going to do, I have a list, my friend. I have a list from Complex Magazine. And Complex Magazine has rated the top 10 best rappers from the 1990s. Okay. And I want to get your opinion on their top 10 list.
All right.
And the reason why I did this was quite frankly because Wu-Tang and American Saga, new episodes are out on Hulu and all that good stuff. And
new episodes?
New. Drops on Wednesdays, bro.
Like a season 2, a follow-up? No shit.
Right now, man. Right now. So anyway.
Oh man, I can't wait. That was so good. Except where all those guys have been in other things now, so it's not gonna be as cool.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I just put a plug in. So Hulu, if you pick us up, yeah. Taylor's got to go. Taylor, great having you with us.
Good to see you, Tay.
Appreciate it. But those of you who are left, please chime in on this list, okay? Aaron, I want to hear. This is the top 10 best rappers of the 1990s. Number 10, Redman.
I mean, there are some people who would just pretty much list off the Wu-Tang Clan and walk away. I was late to Wu-Tang. I got to admit it. I was a West Coast guy, not an East Coast guy. Don't ask me why.
Okay.
I think, I was late 80s, early 90s. So NWA, Eazy-E, then into Dre and then Snoop, all that stuff. That was, and I think it was because a lot of their samples were very 70s, like funk and soul based. And I was familiar with that kind of music anyway. So I think that's maybe what got me. But I mean, nobody's going to say shit about Redman being on a list of the top 10 best rappers of the 90s. I mean, dude's badass.
Okay. All right. Very good. Number 9. This one, I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. Lauryn Hill.
Oh, that's a tough one because I do think she's got a tremendous flow, and Fugees came along and did something absolutely different. And I would say that I think her flow, just straight up, is probably better than both Pras and Wyclef.
Okay.
But it's hard to call her an out and out rapper just because so much of it is based on, she goes back and forth, it's like right now, is the Weeknd an R&B singer or is he a rapper? You listen to those first couple albums and he's half rapping, half singing. Now he's mostly singing. Lauryn kind of went back and forth a little bit. I'm not going to kick her off the list. I'm not sure I'd have put her on my list. So IO number 10 was Redman. Lauryn Hill, I mean, look, like I said, I'm not sure she'd have made my list, but now that I hear it, I'm like, damn, she could vibe. I don't know that Lauryn Hill deserves to be on. Look, so 1990s, Missy better be on here.
You know what? I agree. Missy.
I'm saying I don't think Lauren's better than Missy, but
about Left Eye. I'm just saying.
Left Eye could flow, but that's R&B. There's this.
It is.
It's like talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and people getting, people being in genres of music that have nothing, don't sound like rock and roll, but it all came from rock and roll. So
Now I have not gone through this list purposefully, Aaron, because I wanted to be as shocked as you. I'm shocked at number 8.
All right.
Number 8, Snoop Dogg. How is he number 8?
Well, that'll depend on who the next 7 are.
Yeah, right.
I think most people would rate him a bit higher. Maybe it's because he's such a specific singular style of flow. I mean, he doesn't really flip it up a whole lot unless you get into the Snoop Lion shit.
Man. I guess. Yeah.
But,
maybe it's just more nostalgic for me. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, that was college. College was Snoop and Dre, man. College was just Snoop and Dre and alcohol and a haze.
Oh my God. 93 Doggy Style. Yeah, that was the jam. All right. Here we go. Number 7. Okay. Ice Cube. They put Cube before Dogg, man. What do you think? I can get down with that.
Yeah, now you're getting into some weird kind of, like, Cube wrote so much of the stuff for early NWA and then his own albums. So there's no doubt lyrically he was fire. The question is, did you think him spitting the lyrics was as good? Did it sound as good? Especially when you watch that movie, man, there's nothing just hitting harder than Fuck the Police and stuff like that.
True.
And No Vaseline is some of the that's a get back at you diss track like never before.
Yeah, but man, the lyric, man, jump back in my low rider, coming out feeling about 10 pounds light. It's just like, It's hilarious, but it flows. And I'm like, I'm a big Cube fan, man.
I love him. I think this is probably an appropriate place on the list. Great lyricist.
Yes.
Maybe not the greatest rapper.
I agree. I think, he maybe should have been 8.
Right. I think him and Snoop could flip flop and that wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Number 6. Okay. Let me think about this because this dude can flow. Andre 3000.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And once again, I'm a big Cube fan, but even when I think about it, Andre 3000, man.
What sucks is Big Boy is up there too. I think, especially if you've watched the Key and Peele little sketch about the two of them reuniting in a coffee shop. I mean, Andre 3000 is just crazy. I mean, everything about the way he goes about it is just he brought a certain amount of art to rapping in a way that other people really hadn't up to that point. And let's face it, the Southern style flow, I mean, that was all them at first. I mean, obviously Goody Mob and CeeLo came along, and then obviously you got Master P and a bunch of I don't think it's a hot take to say Big Boy's better than 3000. That's kind of what I was getting at. I mean, Killer Mike still calls Big Boy the most underrated of the South.
Oh my God, man.
And that Killer Mike knows. Killer Mike absolutely knows. So
I'm gonna trust Killer Mike.
If you'd have put either of them, I mean, I don't understand why you would just call them put Outcast on it together.
Yeah, right.
They're too hard to separate, and they haven't been the same since. So
All right, number 5. Oh man, wow. Jay-Z at number 5.
Yeah, I personally find that appropriate. I think.
I mean, in the 90s. Okay, yes. 90s.
He's all about I always found him good and enjoyable, but it was more about the cleverness of it. He certainly was not lyrically as strong as Ice Cube.
No.
I don't think he was as socially minded as some of the other guys. I mean, I know where this is going. I can already tell you who number 1 is.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate, but
okay.
I think you're right, because Jay-Z, for me, I think he made the switch whenever in 98. Like it started to become like really, I don't know, Hard Knock Life hit.
His production got better. You
had Can I Get A? I mean, it's like
but I think this is a good spot for him. I think this fits.
I'd agree. Number 4, Scarface.
I got to be honest. I only know a handful of his stuff. This is Ghetto Boys, right?
Yes.
So again, some cleverness, but I don't know enough of the catalog to be true, but I just don't know that I would put him in the top 10. So this is the first one that I have a bit of a hard pushback on.
This one, I think this one's solid for me on the list. Mind Playing Tricks on Me, man.
It is, but you wouldn't listen to him.
And I've seen a man die
all day long,
dude, man. Those songs, man, they hit hard. But I mean, they were real.
But he doesn't have real. 5 more. I mean, we could list 10 Jay-Z songs right at the top of our head. I just don't think he belongs here. That's all I'm saying.
But think of the 90s though, man. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to stay in the 90s. Like
I just can't name any. I can't name more than a couple of Ghetto Boys songs that really.
I mean, 6 feet deep
are more. But I mean, so much of that stuff is like, it's gimmicky.
No, Charles. No, really. No love. Okay. All right. I'll keep it to myself. All right. Number 3. Nas.
Yeah. I think
3. At 3.
Well, I know who's number 1, so he'd only be allowed to get up to number 2 anyway. So.
I don't know about that one, man. Okay, Nas at number 3. Okay, all right. I mean, I know I can. So anyway, all right. Number 2. Do you want to take a guess?
Biggie.
You would be absolutely wrong, my friend. And this is where I hate this list.
Okay.
They put Tupac at number 2.
Again, I mean, Tupac was enjoyable, but I just don't think he comes up in any best of lists. I'm sorry.
Wait, okay. I'm just gonna look at number 1 because I think number 1 is probably, it's Biggie. I oh man. I think this is just, it comes down to your
Okay.
preference.
Then this list is completely disqualified.
Wow. Why would you say completely disqualified?
Because everybody on this list would name the actual best rapper of the 90s. And none of them have any trouble admitting who it is. Io's going to be pissed.
Who are you? Who did we miss?
It's Eminem, dude. Lyrics, flow, can change it up, can do anything. Not one of these guys would want to get into a fucking battle rap with Eminem.
What? What? No, oh my God. Aaron, how come Busta's not on here?
That's because Busta was a gimmick too. No. Also, Charles has your answer, because if Q-Tip's not on this list, Busta's definitely not on this list.
Man, come on now. Come on. I love Q-Tip. I love Q. Charles, I got you. I gotta understand though. Why?
What?
Why?
Why Q-Tip?
Busta's not on it. No, why Busta's not on? And also, I love Eminem.
Because Busta didn't do his best stuff until the mid 2000s. Busta was guest rapping on Tribe albums, man.
Yeah, but you're gonna put. I don't understand. Like, you're gonna put on here. You're gonna put. I don't know. No, all of these people. I think Redman got no love. I think he could have been higher.
All right, I think Io's right that Eminem is not on list. Even so, his debut album demolishes half the shit on this list, and everybody fucking knows it.
If he knows how to pick beats. That's awesome. Can you imagine Eminem in a rap battle on the corner with Biggie or any of these guys? I love him, but no. I agree. I agree.
Well,
exactly.
You should. The problem is then you should ask all these guys, because literally all of them are on film saying,
you think so?
Eminem would fucking destroy all of us, and that's why nobody comes for him. Nobody with any real name comes for Eminem. It's always a bunch of hacks. Nobody ever comes for Eminem. He will destroy you.
There's only been one person that said Dr. Dre's dead, so I'll give you that. But what I'm going to say is this: Io brings up a great point, and I'm going to end my petitioning and my anger with this. Where is DMX? Where's DMX?
He deserves a little bit of love, but again, this is the 90s. I'm going to guess most of his albums came out in the 2000s.
2000, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's revisit when Complex comes out with the best rappers of the 2000s.
There you go.
That one's already decided. That has to be
okay.
him. I mean, seriously, everybody go get on YouTube and look up videos about people talking about Eminem. Literally every person is like, he's the best. His flow is amazing. He's not afraid to say shit, and he will burn you to the ground.
And Charles, you may have a point, man. Some of this list seem to bleed into the 2000s. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you'll probably see some of these people on that list.
That's what I was going to say. I think after a while, it all starts to blend together a little bit. So It's hard to remember when some of these albums came out, because in retrospect, I mean, if I was going to pull stuff out of the rack now and listen to it, we're going to be listening to an awful lot of Outkast before I get to anybody else on here. I mean, that shit was just fire.
Well, she got a hottest body and the attitude is naughty. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. They float.
Charles
They
Schindler has
float.
hit it on the head. MC Paul Barman.
Paul Barman.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen,
my dandy voice will have the most anti-choice granny's panties moist.
I just don't understand. I'm doing it. I don't care if we don't get monetized at all. How can you?
When does this album come out?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're at the part of the show that's my second favorite part of the show, because Aaron just fucking ruined my party right now.
I'm sorry. Look, Charles is the one.
Right.
I mean, he's pointed out.
You're right.
We old as fuck.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the show where Aaron sends us out, man. Aaron, this has been cool. I love just riffing with you, man. I gotta admit, I came in kind of down. But man, after talking with you, talking with everybody, I feel kind of good now, man. So what do you got for us to send us out?
See, this is why we do this. You know, we all go through down times. I'd say I'm with you. It's been a rough couple of weeks. It's just tough. You look at all the bullshit going on in the world. And then, you know, you see Scarface on a list of top rappers and you're like, what the fuck is this about? But we can all come together and have these conversations, have some fun, find some joy, find some connection in the world. Even disagreeing about who the best rappers are is connection, because we're all sharing the memories of what it was like listening to that first Nas album come out in your dorm room, right? What it was like to hear Snoop come in the first time on that Dre track. Holy
Most
shit.
Def.
Oh, dude. Most Def was awesome. Pharaoh Munch, all that shit. That was killer. I believe we have to call him Yasin Bey now.
Yes.
But I mean, this is the joy that even while this is going on, that we can find a little bit of time to connect, to reach out and share a little bit of time together and have some fun and kind of pick each other up. So if anybody's feeling down, rewatch this video, rewatch some of the other ones, reach out to either of us, because that's why we do it. That's you know, we're still trying to make that connection, and it's still a lot of danger out there. People ain't covering up. People aren't getting the vaccine. People aren't getting the vaccine. People aren't looking after themselves, which means they're not looking out for others, and that's just selfish. So we got to do better. We got to be better, and that starts with us. So everybody go put on your favorite 90s rap album and kick back and get blazed. Black people vote.
Ooh. Black people vote.